Hello again guys, we're back with another video. Today we're looking at the Fallen Prime Megatronus. So this is not at all based off the movie design. I'm not completely against every movie design. There are some that really tickle my pickle, but the Fallen was not one of them. He looked fucking stupid as shit. Didn't have an alt mode, and the alt mode that the toys gave him wasn't even his usual alt mode that most people know him for from the comics, which is of course, a tank. So here he is in all his black and purple and yellow Cybertronian tank glory. This also isn't his usual color scheme, but it's still pretty recognizable as him. He does, of course, have some random hints of transparent orange and yellow and shit for the flames on him, as well as the head being very apparent for that. But he is a very spiky Cybertronian hover tank. And of course, the Autobot logo, which normally would not make sense. Like, why is a villain got an Autobot logo? And, well, for starters, he's the Fallen. He did used to be one of the Autobot Primes, but secondly, I could not be asked to waste a Decepticon sticker on him just so I can occasionally put the Decepticon logo on there instead. Personally, I just like the scratched up chest plate more with the Autobot logo on it. This is not focused at all. Come on, focus. Come on, you can do it. It focuses for a second and then just unfocuses immediately, but, you know, it's fine. So if I put my hand here, it's going to be like, ooh, and it's going to fucking unfocus. Or not, because it wants to prove me wrong. But rotating around, he's a relatively solid hover tank, although he has got some hollow spots here and there. Not quite an H tank, he's mostly built out, but there is some gap where it divots in slightly at the back, and divots slightly in at the front, but not by much. He's got all these claws and spikes and things across him. There are also some extra spikes that can be flipped out on the sides here, but it does not do much. I have to just lift him up to see him a bit closer to the camera. You can see he's a very mishmash of colors in places, but it all works in unison in his robot mode, which we will get to. Which I'd also like to mention is one of the few robot modes I have that actually has posable and articulated fingers, because usually I just have the old clip hands for holding weapons. But in terms of vehicle articulation, his tank turret moves up and down, and that's literally it. And you can rearrange some spikes. So start transformation, we are going to open up this chest plate slightly and pop the turret off to the side to be his arm weapon. There is actually a spot here where a matrix of leadership can sit. We're going to close that down for his chest plate. This also does work as a very obvious robot folded up hover thing. Okay, so now we're going to get into the main transformation for this guy. First we're going to do is fold up these claws on the back, and then just fold the leg out slightly. Then going to rotate the kneecaps so they line up properly, and then fold these spikes up on the kneecaps, rotate those round, and then these claws want to rotate around and kind of grasp around the leg like that. I'm going to do the same on the other side, but I'm just going to take it off camera because a lot of these guys are annoying to transform on their own, let alone on camera. But that gets you his nice legs with these sort of flame colors threaded through. Next, we're going to do his arms, so we're going to unfold the fingers from the front here and just fold it down, rotate the shoulder joint out, rotate the forearm around, then move that out slightly to rotate the hand and bring the thumb into position. And we'll do the same on the other side. One of his fingers did just explode off. I'm going to notice I've used a lot of pieces for this guy off the Black Panther and Wolverine mech. It's where all the joints came from and a lot of the pieces, hence why you see a lot of mishmash of purple, dark blue, and black, and the yellow. And you see as well, this arm has an empty hollow spot, whereas this arm has a plate to hold the turret, which is an optional thing to bring him closer to Megatron in design. Next thing we're going to do is bring down the shoulder panels. I'm going to rise the shoulders up and actually rotate this piece like that, so it can close into the shoulder like that. I'm going to do the same on the other side. He does also use a lot of these. He does use a couple of the wheel arch pieces from mostly Speed Champions, but they've kind of been used in all sorts of lines at this point. And then finally, we're just going to rotate the head around. And just using the Ghost Rider head. Then we're going to attach the fusion cannon to his arm. Oh god. His entire hand just exploded. Just bear with me a second. These guys do also, they're not built to really be played with necessarily. They are kind of built as display pieces that are posable. So that stuff tends to come before durability. Like, these would not make it as official LEGO products. Like, I can tell you that 100%. Also, the character choices. LEGO is never going to make a character that turns into a tank. But there we have the Fallen in his robot mode. He's going to splay his legs out a bit. A nice big menacing wide pose. So articulation, he's actually a really articulated figure, surprisingly. So we'll start with this waist, which I do tend to put waist joints in, but not a lot. But he has one of the big ball joints in his waist, giving him quite a crap forward ab crunch, but a really fucking strong backwards ab crunch. He's got rotation at the waist. Then the legs start with a ball joint, and then there is a bend there and a bend there in the knee, giving maximum knee bend. His feet have nothing though, and are just kind of bricks. His arms have a ball joint at the shoulder, as well as forwards and backwards if you move the shoulder panel out the way, which does tend to pop off a lot. Ball joint here at the elbow, and a ball joint at the wrist, and each finger has a bend inwards, and the thumb can just kind of do unnatural thumb shit, like spinning nearly 360 degrees. So I'm actually going to do some size comparisons with figures that are similar to this, as in fusion cannon wielding not all tanks, but mostly tanks. So we'll bring in the most obvious comparison with Megatron. I'm going to grab now. It was more of a VTOL type vehicle. But there he is next to Megatron, who does not want to stand up on this background. And for another size comparison, we'll bring it back a bit and bring in Tarn from the Decepticon Justice division. This guy actually being a tank as well, and actually being a hover tank despite being covered in treads in his robot mode. There he is next to Tarn and Megatron. Hey, that is all on the Fallen. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video, where I will we'll go with someone a bit more standard with their design for a change. Why not? I don't know who, but we'll pick someone. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the Fallen, and I'll see you all in the next video I do.